As I mentioned last night, when your name is called, Mr. Starr will interview you. And if you have been subpoenaed, he'll have some extra questions for you. Okay, for those of you who are just getting in, apart from those of you who are just leaving, let me introduce our guests here. I'll start with my right and move to the left. This is Mr. Michael Brady, who is not related to Carol Brady. Mike is the voice of Crusher Joe. And not that voice, not the whiny voice.
Not the whiny one.
I'm the leader because I'm the whiny one. And here we have Miss Amy Howard, our very special honored guest. I see some of you know who she is. But for those who don't, Amy was the voice of Nova from our favorite show, Star Blazers. And of course, there's these two guys from our last band. It's Clay Croker, who does the voice of Zorak and Moltar from Space Ghost. And of course, Space Ghost himself, Mr. George Lowe. Before we get to Q&A from the panel, I want to ask everybody a question. I want to ask everybody in the panel how they got started in voice acting. What did they do to get into it? Was it something you tried to do, or was it something that just kind of happened? Okay, Mike, we'll start with you, and we'll just work our way down.
Okay. Hello. Good. Oh, I don't even have to project. Yes. I was an anime fan before becoming a voice actor. I collected comic books for about 20-some years and was very specialized in the kind of anime that I'd buy, all subbed, of course. My Bubblegum Crisis is subbed just like yours is. When I found out that Wilmington, which has sort of become the headquarters for all the filming going on in the Carolinas, that there were studios that did dub anime there, I just started knocking on doors. I was trying to get a way in, not only because I thought it'd be really cool, but to maybe try to make something that the fan in me would want to watch, because I knew that dubs sucked too. So I just kept knocking on doors and became really annoying until finally Coastal Recording, which had done at that time, they had done Bow and Spirit of Wonder, You're Under Arrest, Oh My Goddess. Woohoo! Basically called the best dubbing studio working today. They had a new title come up called Crusher Joe, and I got cast as the lead, so I get to be William Shatner and talk to you guys now on the other side. So I went looking for it.
I'm sorry, we're just being distracted here.
I share.
Oh, all right.
Yes, it's all you, baby.
Why don't we move the table over?
Sharing
So they I can be with the real stars?
Yes, like
Come on, honey.
I'm not union or anything.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
Union's the right word.
There's something very familiar about this. The only woman up here on the bridge with a bunch of guys.
Somebody should get to carry a gun.
No guns this time. No guns. How I got started was literally being in the right place at the right time. Because I had gone to acting school for 2 years, and then a couple of years later I was working at another acting school. And we got the call one day from Kit Carter, who was the casting director, and she was looking for non-union performers to come and audition for the show. And I remember sitting in the front office, and one of the owners of the school who had spoken with Kit came in the office and said, would anyone be interested in auditioning for a new animated series being brought over from Japan? And I didn't even let him get the whole question out of his mouth. I was just me, I do. So they told me where the audition was, and if I can get my hands to stop shaking, I'll be very happy. But
We're here with you.
hold on to me, guys. And I was the last woman to audition for the part of Nova, and they cast me, and here I am. Thank you. Over to
And
you.
if we had microphones, that would be helpful, boys. That's something. We've had a better. Hello. Oh, there's something. Very much.
Okay, I've always had an interest in animation, and I used to work out at the Stone Mountain Laser Show. I don't know if any of y'all have been out to that. So I started out there in about '86, and they basically had not much of anything when I came on board. So we were encouraged to do anything that we wanted to see on the side of the mountain, which included sound effects, voices, animation, design, you name it. So I wound up going and renting a Niagara recorder and record my own sound effects.
That one's on.
Is this one on?
Hello.
Yeah. Ooh, good. Ooh, yes.
So I wound up recording my own sound effects and doing a lot of the animation, and wound up doing some voices for them. And then I went to Crawford post-production, where Space Ghost is worked on still, and was working there when the show actually came to Crawford. And worked on developing the show. I wound up designing the sets and doing the new scenes of animation or supervising those. And initially when I came on the show, the sidekick was still going to be Hervé Villachet's Tattoo from Fantasy Island. They had just signed him about 3 weeks before when he shot himself. I don't know what that says about his feelings about working with us, but
Planning is everything.
yeah. So at this point they were looking for a sidekick, and one of the things that I felt was lacking from the show when it was presented to us was Space Ghost wasn't in space really, and there were no old villains from the show. It was sort of in the sterile environment, which I felt like kind of took away from Space Ghost being Space Ghost. So I pushed to get Zorak on the show because I was always a big Zorak fan. And as far as Moltar goes, he was just the first cartoon that we looked at that had a villain looking at a screen throwing levers. So if we looked at a Metalis cartoon first, it'd be Zorak and Metalis or somebody else. But so I thought initially that they were going to get the original voice talent back, like Gary Owens who did Space Ghost, and Don Messick who did the original Zorak, who also did Scooby-Doo and most of the Hanna-Barbera stable of characters, him and Don Butler. And so when I found out that they weren't going to get Gary and weren't going to get Don, I was sort of like, I felt really bad because I was like, okay, I kind of felt like I was being Zorak's agent trying to get him on the show. And then I thought, oh God, what have I done? Who are they going to get to do this voice if Don Messick doesn't do it? So I felt like I could kind of do it. So I threw out an old line at one of the sessions, and they were just kind of like, okay, you're Zorak, next order of business. So when people ask me, so how do I break into voiceover work? I always say, well, suggest that they use an obscure character that you can do the voice of, and then be in the room when they start looking for talent. So that worked for me, at least. George?
Why, thank you, Clay. Oh, could I get just a little more beef? Because I'm really lazy on Saturday. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. See, if I could just mumble, then it's better. Oh, oh, there you go. Oh, Daddy like. Daddy.
This is
Daddy
how Brady
happy.
started as well.
Daddy likey loud. Oh, man. And I don't want to bore the crud out of you guys, so I don't know. How can I sum up 25 years of yapping for cash? I had the first 3 jobs I ever had from 13 to 15 were the typical bad, lousy kid jobs that every kid has. You go to work at the mall, you go and you work at the suit store. I worked for this nice little guy named Jerome Granoff, and Jerome said, okay, your job is to take off the old prices and put on the right ones. We get them for $129, we're selling for $240. Okay, got that? Good. That was one of my jobs. At 13 and a half, I got really bored with that and said, I'm going to the local radio station and audition. I don't care what I have to do, I got to get out of this. And this was back in radio when people were nice enough to say, come on in. Now he's 13 and a half years old. Boy, isn't that nice? And his voice, it was like, hey Mom, what's for dinner? Puberty was a Mack truck for me. So,
Never-ending train.
I'll say. Ended up at the local radio station. They were like, well, the kid's starting to get his pipes. Let's go ahead and put on a reel of tape and hand him some Associated Press copy and read him. 13 and a half, needless to say, I didn't get my first job. At 15, I did, which was really weird. Walked in, was very gutsy, said, I want a job. And they were like, Friday, 6 to midnight, you'll be playing The Rock. The kids love The Rock. But it's been a long haul, guys. It was like from AM radio to FM radio in college, to TV in college, out of college to PM Magazine, from actually to news. I did news right out. Imagine that. Yeah, it's like, of course I had all my hair then. But yeah, tonight at 6 and 11, winged blood-sucking monkeys take over the city. Now this from your friends at Cash and Carry. Yeah, did that. Did PM Magazine, which was really, really kind of interesting. It was fun. That's back when it was hip. But of course, one day they had the brainchild of, hey, there's this new show called Entertainment Tonight that's going to try and beat us. What's going to happen? Well, we're going to beat them, sir. Wait a minute, they've got like 800 good guests, and we've got, Yanni. So, needless to say, after PM Magazine, I went back to radio. I was a VJ for a while in Lakeland, Florida, of all places. Went and played videos on a station that didn't even have the money to build the studio. The first 3 months, we broadcasted from the transmitter. If you can imagine, like 16 hydrogen and helium cooled systems behind you going. With their latest hit. Left that, came here, did radio here. It's believe it, this is the short version.
Yeah.
Yeah, did the radio thing here, was a boss jock, produced mornings at Power 99, left them, started my freelance business in 92. In 93, thank God, Ted called. And they said, we're doing a cartoon, would you audition? And I was like, oh, thank you, thank you. The first, I say this everywhere, it's the first good job I've had. Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
Should we tell them don't get into radio for the money?
Did I get into
Don't get into radio for the money.
Well,
His advice. I was in it for 6 years.
initially, and my advice always, when people ask me, how do you get into broadcasting? I'm going to follow up with what you did. I always tell them, learn everything you can learn about physics, anatomy, and physiology. Get really good at organic chemistry. Pick a specialty. Graduate with honors from a major med school. Practice. Establish a really big clientele. Get millions of dollars in the bank, and then see if you want to do this crap.
You do radio because you love it, not because it's a great job or anything.
No, it's great. What we do is the best, and we'd be liars if we said that it wasn't. It's, where else can you go in, talk a couple of hours, go home, and actually, keep your electric on? So it's a blessing.
And it's not based on how you look. Like
Hey, that's a shot. The man's taking shots at me.
No, I'm talking about me. See, I have what is known as, on camera, I have what's known as offbeat good looks, which means I'm good looking for an ugly guy.
Oh, stop it.
Which means I'm just cute enough that I can't play character parts, but I'm just ugly enough that I can't be ingenue. So you get behind a microphone, that doesn't matter anymore.
So I guess we throw this back to our friend Joe, and he sets up the next part of this, or is it Q&A now, Joe? Or?
Do you want to be Q&A or?
Whatever you guys want to do. We're real flexible.
We thought we'd just screw off and have lunch.
Clay was actually in the Olympics, so he's more flexible than I am.
Pretending I'm important.
Oh, you're welcome to be here.
I just wanted to we're tangled here.
Uh-oh.
We've also found another of our cast members, and I have him with me today, since he couldn't be here in person. His name is Ken Meserole, and Ken did the voice of Derek Wildstar. And he's shooting a film in California this weekend, which is why he couldn't be here. But he will be for if anyone's going to be at Acon 10 in next May in Dallas, he will be there. So I'm just so proud and thrilled that we finally found another member of the family, as it were. And he also ran into the fellow who did Deathlock's voice. Yeah. And he he may be able to find, his first name is Eddie, and we're going back 20 years here, folks, so, you know, we're having to dig through the memory bank and whatnot, so, but as soon as we can remember Eddie's last name, we'll try and find him too.
We're gonna get a reunion. We'll get a reunion.
We'll get a reunion together, yeah.
Okay, guys, has there ever been a job that you regretted doing, or that it was so hateful to you that you decided, you almost made you reconsider doing? I know you
Radio.
only had the one job.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that was premature. I was so ready with that answer, Joe. Morning radio is like the single greatest and worst experience I've had in the business, because you can take a station from 15th to number 1, and if the traffic guy comes in the next day and says something funny, then they start reevaluating your contract. It's like, oh, the traffic guy's funny, why are we paying him what we're paying him? Maybe, why don't we just put the traffic guy in charge and we'll save like $60,000? So that's the way radio works. It's kind of like SeaWorld when they throw the steaks in the water.
High turnover in radio, very high turnover. There wasn't really anything that I balked at, but I'll relate that to something a little different. Occasionally in the studio, I'll be asked to do something that I'm directed to do something that I wouldn't have necessarily chosen originally. George is pissed off by the way, guys.
What did you say?
He'll be back.
And as a performer, you're really obligated to sort of do as the director says, but if that goes against what your original choices for the character might be, you just sort of have to find a happy medium and realize that there's a bigger project going on that's bigger than you. It's bigger than the sum of all its parts, and so if you really have a hard time with it, the thing is get over it, you know. So.
Well, actually, I haven't had a chance to do anything that I might regret.
No bad AT&T stories?
No, God, I've been asked, because the situation when we did our show, the reason we didn't get credit or residuals or anything like that, it was a very low, I hesitate to use the words low budget, because that's, usually, you're talking about crap when you talk about low budget, and ours was not crap. But, we all knew what the story was. We knew we wouldn't be getting credit or residuals or anything like that. But when I'm asked, looking back on it now, because here we are 20 years later, and we're, fabulous fans, the best fans in the world, and, would you go back and change any of it? Well, don't you wish you had residuals and things like that? I thought, I think I wouldn't, yeah, it would have been nice, the money would have been nice and all that stuff, but I wouldn't go back and change a minute of it. Because if anything had happened differently, we wouldn't be here right now. And I'm having too much fun right now to risk any of that. So, there may, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm just enjoying what's happening right now.
Are you hoping for work in Cartoon Network or anything like that, doing some more voiceover stuff?
Absolutely.
We'll get Pete Smith back here.
Where
We'll
did
talk
Pete
Let
go?
Pete know we're all available.
Yeah.
I'll tell it. Over to me. No, regrettably, I haven't really had a job that I absolutely hated yet. Knock wood. There have been a couple of things that I've felt contractually obligated to do at Cartoon Network, which shall remain nameless, otherwise they'll be sought out. But no, so far so good, really. We'll see how 99 goes.
Want to do just some Q&A? Anybody got any questions? Somebody's got to have a question.
Logan.
Hey. You were talking earlier about how you actually auditioned for the part of No. How did they actually show you clips from the show?
At the audition?
Yeah.
No. They gave us a script, and I had 10 or 15 minutes to look it over. And the only direction that I was given at the audition and as we were doing the dubs was to just talk. Don't do a character. Don't try to fancy it up at all. Just talk to each other. And I think that's one thing that I've heard from so many people is the reason that the show was and is so popular is because we used our voices. We just talked to one another. There was nothing, no, that's right.
And you're
That's right.
listening to each other. You're listening to each other
Although
too.
based,
Yeah.
although based on what we kind of found out, we kind of surmised about Chris Love, he may
Yes.
have had to force his voice for a couple of other characters.
Yeah, because he did several. He did Knox and a couple of others. He did Gideon also. Right.
Now, when we auditioned for Crusher Joe, and you'll find for any anime today, you'll be matching footage in an audition setting. They had picked a basic piece that had all 4 characters in it for Crusher Joe specifically, and you got to go in a little tiny room. And what you end up doing at home when you work for Coastal is you keep rewinding the footage, and the lines you've got to match at home. Yet you get to match them in this little room, knowing it won't be perfect because you probably just picked up the technique. And you actually lay it in with the footage that's edited then and there. Maybe you get to bounce off other auditioners that aren't there at the time but were recorded earlier. And between that mixing and matching, they pick who they wanted. So even at the end of the audition, I got to see my voice come out as animated footage, which was fine at the end of it. By the time it was all done. So
Pretty cool.
yeah, sweet, yeah.
First time you're like, oh.
Considering that when I was a kid, I wanted to originally do this. I wanted to drive a garbage truck, I wanted to be one of the Temptations, and I wanted to do cartoon voices. I didn't make the Temptations. I'm lacking that one quality. I can't sing. I can't sing at all. But yeah, I grew up, knowing everybody's name: Don Messick and Dawes Butler and Danny Dart, Jack Angel, Michael Bell, all the guys who really paid the dues. I could identify by just seeing the stuff. So.
Yeah, they made this town.
That's right.
Sometime. They built this city on rock and roll.
Slick and Rick at 96.
Anybody else?
It happens.
How can I get a job working as a voiceover artist? Would I
Okay.
just
Yeah,
be a-
suggest they use an obscure character and then.
Like, is there any way I can audition?
Here's the absolute key. For anime specifically,
No, just any a cartoon.
okay, you have to be near where it is.
That's it exactly, like in the room.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
yourself available so that as soon as they get in a bind, it's like, well, who can we get to do this?
In other words, plan on moving.
I mean, specifically anime specifically, you're going to be talking to local recording studios who can't afford to hire union people, which is, you're getting a range of experience. Some people just came off of doing Grease from the school play. Other people you've seen in countless 70s television shows would have gone, oh, I know him. Oh, he did a voice? Okay, great. But they're having to hire locally, and that's why sometimes one of the reasons dubs can turn out of varying quality. But you have to be near where it's done because they don't have the money to go very far to find their talent.
Or the time, usually.
Michael, where are the centers now for the animation?
Let's see, we've got, I know LA. I couldn't tell you exactly who. 2 places in Texas for ADV. They are Houston and Austin. Wilmington, North Carolina, where Coastal Recording is. And Coastal is actually an independent. They're not linked with any one company, although they primarily done work for Animego and Media Blasters. They can work for anybody.
Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Huge studio.
Vancouver. I think, is it Ocean Studios that's in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you just have to be near one of the places. I was actually an hour away from the studio, and when we recorded, to pat myself on the back, I wanted the job so bad, I convinced them that I would be there at their beck and call. For Crusher Joe, I had to make an hour drive one way, 3 times a week for 9 months.
Actually, we only meet
So.
once a week, but we really want to use you, so.
That's right. That's right. And I remember some of that abuse, Robert, and I can recount that in great detail.
You needed to got a sort of an angry edge, to sort of submerged rage of Crusher Joe.
Yeah, Joe wasn't really there until I realized that I was running out of gas money. Yeah, we're going to take care of business now. I was like, yeah, okay, that's it. Keep him coming in here. But you guys are paying me, so great.
I just wanted to not to leave your question hanging. The nature of this business, as limited as my experience is, a lot of it is really, really subjective. I mean, you've got to trust your talent first. If you believe you've got what it takes, absolutely pursue it. But a lot of times you'll walk into an audition and your hair won't be the right color, or you're not tall enough. And it's nothing personal. It's not, it's just that they're looking for, you know, a short, blonde, blue-eyed. Type, exactly, exactly.
The phrase,
Why does the appearance have to match the voice?
I'm sorry?
Why does the appearance have to match the voice?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just speaking generally. You know, and as far as voice acting, I mean, the guys can probably back me up. Your voice may not be high enough or low enough or something like that, and
or you
it's
sound too young or too old.
yes, it's how you sound. I mean,
Luck of the draw.
looking
Big time.
exactly,
Big time.
exactly. And a lot of times there are scheduling deadlines, and they've got to get somebody now, and they don't have time. You know, well, I could do a higher voice, or I could do a lower voice. They want somebody to walk in, give them the sound they want right now,
And consistently.
and consistently. So it's the wackiest business I know of. You know, it really is. It really is. And unfortunately, it's not, you know, you can't walk in, apply for the job, and, you know, they'll look at your resume and they'll look at all your qualifications and whatnot. And, you know, it's not a 9 to 5, go to the office, you know.
Maybe second wackiest
Get a
job.
paycheck every Friday and go home.
My family tells me all the time my voice is too plain and normal.